Downtime just finished for the most recent 1.1.15 patch that came out inside of Dune Awakening. I'm going to break down these patch notes as quickly as possible. If this video helps you out at all, then help me out by hitting that like button. But let's go ahead, cut this plug, and jump right on into it here. Starting off, they dive into the Deep Desert, the end game, and the Lands Rad. They say that Tier 6 resources can now be collected across wider areas in the PvE part of the Deep Desert. They say that they've also added an element of randomization to the respawn timer of unique loot containers inside of the Deep Desert, which should help mitigate the whole log out, log in, grab the chest, log out strategy that's really been happening inside of the Deep Desert lately. They go on to say that they have split up the Plastinium tier crafting components based on the content location. So the Imperial testing stations, caves, or shipwrecks each are going to drop their own selection of components, while the Fallen shipwrecks and the Buried treasure are going to drop components from any location. I thought this was already how it worked, but maybe I'm wrong. They've also added a chance of a different selection of uniques dropping in the PvE loot inside of the Deep Desert. I'm not sure what they mean by this. If they mean like a different possibility of uniques other than what is in the weekly rotation, or if they mean they're more so randomizing the drops that you can get out of any specific location, because currently as it stands in the Deep Desert, specific uniques come out of specific locations. So if you're only looking for a certain unique, you're only going to need to farm that location. This change might spread that out a bit, but it's a bit weird how they word it there. Moving into the spice fields, they're actually making a pretty big change here. They say the spawn rate of the medium fields has been increased from 5 back up to 8, and the small spice fields have been increased from 22 all the way up to 30. So you're going to be seeing a lot more spice fields out in the Deep Desert. I know when they reduced the spawn rate of medium fields, it was a impactful change. You know, you really felt the lack of medium spice fields. So this is nice to see that they're throwing back in there. They go on to say that the delay for leaving a PvP security zone has been increased from 5 to 30 seconds in order to prevent border camping, as well as allow PvP players to protect their area. And then maybe one of the biggest changes inside of this patch, they say that they've changed the Lands Rad tasks to allow for a kill and delivery contribution to be happening even after the task has been completed, but it's only going to award personal contribution. For example, which faction won and how many guild votes were awarded is going to be unaffected, but you should actually be able to access some of the rewards that you can get from the Lands Rad tasks, which previously you were locked out of, because if the task was completed, you could no longer personally contribute. This should definitely help out some of the solo and small group players actually start to get some Lands Rad rewards. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Some other small changes they've done is, for example, they say that they've improved game stability. They've reduced cases where the sandworm can push vehicles under the terrain, and they've also added a new audio alert for the PvP zone chain. And then finally, we have a list of fixes to break down here. Starting off, they fixed an issue with the Harkonnen faction recruitment contract. Do you have what it takes? It would sometimes bug out and not let you complete it. They've also fixed an issue where contract rewards dropped on the ground if your inventory was full, could lead to situations where you would end up missing them. Now they say that rewards can only be claimed when there is enough space in your inventory. They also fixed an issue where vehicle modules would not highlight properly after the player had applied a customization variant. They fixed an issue where the positioning of a pentashield surface could overlap with an existing pentashield surface, and they fixed an exploit that it would allow building a vehicle with items from another player's inventory. Overall, some pretty solid changes here. Unfortunately, there are some still pretty big elephants in the room that they kind of refuse to address. For example, people griefing people inside of the Haga Basin by either A, gaining access to their sub-fief and removing the restriction, thus being able to fully loot basically any base they want, or equally concerning, they have the duplication, glitches, and bugs that have been running absolutely rampant and completely ruining the in-game economy on dozens and dozens of servers, not to mention the amount of speed hackers that you have flying around. And even to kind of get into some of like the weeds here, you have the griefers inside of the Haga Basin who are pinning down ornithopters and then summoning a worm in order to essentially grief the player that they're, you know, pinning down. There's a lot going on with the Dune Awakening, a lot of like big problems that they're kind of refusing to address at all. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about all of that. Personally, I'm still having a great time inside of Dune Awakening. The duping does kind of really suck, and what is honestly going to kill this game faster than anything is if they cannot get a handle on the PvE exploits of the people literally gaining access to everybody's sub-fief, therefore being able to raid and kill progress even inside of the Haga Basin. This is definitely something that you got to keep your eye out on, and if they have not fixed it and cannot get a handle on it, it is going to spread like a wildfire. But overall, some decent patch notes here. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. We're going to be jumping into Dune Awakening live right here on YouTube as well as on Twitch within about an hour of posting this video. Keep an eye out on the channel. I'll have a link to the Twitch down in the description if you're interested in that. If you made it this far in the video, made it down below so I can give you an extra shout out. But other than that, I hope you guys all have an amazing day. I'm out.